All right, so folks have been asking for a follow-up and some more information about more thoughts on my time with the Epson LS12000 projector, particularly relative to my JVC NX7. So I've had the LS12000 for a little while now. I've had some folks over from AVS. We set it all up, we put it through its paces, we did a bunch of comparisons with my JVC. I actually do have it deinstalled right now. It's sitting right next to me here. But I wanted to go over the reasons why I won't be keeping this projector. I won't be looking to buy one for myself. I will be sticking 100% with my JVC NX7 for the time being. I still have ideas and desires to upgrade projectors at some point in time. The Epson LS12000 just did not in any way, shape, or form unseat my JVC NX7. It was a demo, but I'm open-minded enough, and I'm not bothered by the fact that the less expensive thing can sometimes be the better one. If I truly felt that the Epson was a better performer, had specifically better features or whatever, my NX7 would have been in the AVS classifieds, you know, the next day, and I would be absolutely happy to own this thing. But I just don't feel that it unseated the NX7. So let's go through a few reasons specifically why, and then talk about a few things that I'm still missing that I do really like about this thing, and I do look forward to having in a future projector. You know, is a bit of a gap, a feature gap or whatever, from the NX to the LS12000. So number one, and this is really one of the biggest ones that I would say, is just kind of like the overall, the native picture that the NX7 throws is superior to the LS12000, and that's just the way it is. And I'm talking more so about 4K HDR content. That's what I tend to absorb the most of. Yeah, there's still a lot of 1080p and even sub 1080p content out there, but realistically speaking, for me, I'm usually watching new movies, you know, or a lot of stuff has been re-released in 4K HDR. All the new streaming shows and movies are 4K HDR, so that's really the norm. That's what I build my system around. And in that respect, the JVC is just a hands-down winner. And based on the fact that it has that built-in frame adaptive tone mapping, and the Epson just doesn't have it. If you want the most out of a front projection setup in a home theater watching 4K HDR content, you must have something tone mapping. And there's precious few ways to get valuable dynamic tone mapping in your image path. You can get it in the projector if you have a JVC. You can get it from your Blu-ray player if you use a Panasonic and you want physical media and you want to actually use the discs themselves in the player. Or you can get it from expensive video processors, right? Like a Lumagen or a MadVR. And you're talking many thousands of dollars to add those to your system. And I'm not going to get into details right now or the quagmire of like what's the superior tone mapping algorithm. All of those solutions, and I've seen the majority of them anyway, are really good. Some are better than others, perhaps, or arguably perhaps. But the fact is, like, I'm not giving up tone mapping in a projector or in my signal chain at all. And for me specifically, I don't want tone mapping from a Panasonic Blu-ray player. I don't want tone mapping from MadVR on my PC. I need it applied to a variety of external sources. I want it applied to my Apple TV content. I want it applied to my Kaleidescape. And so that leaves the Lumagen MadVRs of the world, and it leaves the JVC. And that's just it. It makes the biggest difference in presentable, visual, effective picture quality, and I just would not step off of the JVC unless or until I could add something else that would bring that capability as well as maybe some other video processing back in. And I'm just not going to buy that other stuff right now, although we'll see what happens with the channel and some options to maybe get my hands on some of those other devices. But fundamentally speaking, the NX is miles ahead. Just device to device, it makes no sense to replace JVC NX7 with the LS12000 for that type of content, that type of use, these source devices. That pretty much just seals the deal, you know, right off the bat. And, you know, I don't have pictures. HDR stuff is really hard to show. And even if I recorded video and took stills, what you see, you know, captured through an image sensor, played back through YouTube is not the same. If you watched all the M-Wave stuff, FOMO's content and the live streams where they did all of these comparisons, You know, the number one thing that was reiterated over and over and over again is basically don't trust what you're seeing in the YouTube stream, in the stream. You got to listen to what people are saying. And so at this point, I guess you either trust me or you don't. I've sat in that room. I've put multiple images up. I've had multiple people, other AVS folks, that are far more skilled at video calibration and things than I. And everybody like universally says the same thing. Got to have the tone mapping and that's it. So one of the other things I really like about the JVC is the fact that it has the Auto Cal ability built in. Yeah, it's no substitute for a real full-on professional calibration, and at some point in time I probably will start doing that for my devices and for my spaces and for my rooms. And anyway, in the meantime, JVC's Auto Cal is actually really cool and very effective. It's getting you a lot of the way there. Sure, the Pro's going to do a better job. How much better? You know, certainly some amount. But astronomically better, no. But JVC Auto Cal is certainly better than no calibration or just some kind of fiddling around calibration. So the fact that those projectors have it, I was able to have Pixel Pusher from AVS do and run the JVC Auto Cals on my projector a couple of the times that he was here and we were messing around comparing these things. So I have the benefit of having Auto Cal done on my unit. It made a positive impression. And again, just those features, getting the most picture quality out of that projector puts it ahead. It just makes sense to stick to that model in my space. There's nothing about the LS12000 unseating the JVC. And that kind of folds into the third one, and I made mention of this in my prior video. I just prefer the set it and forget it nature of the JVC. I had one before this NX7, NX790. I've had this NX7 for a while, and I feel no need when I sit down and watch content to be like, oh, like this is a brighter movie or this is a darker movie or this is a colorful movie, so let me twinkle around with all these sliders and move this one up and move this one down, and oh yeah, that's perfect, or is it perfect? What's it really supposed to look like? I don't have a reference. I don't really know. No, I find that JVC allows me to go into the menus, set a variety of settings with reasonable confidence and some recommendation and directive from, again, some very skilled and knowledgeable people in the space like Chris Deering and others. And so I have full confidence and peace of mind that I walk into my room, I sit down, I watch a movie, it's looking good, and I don't have to doubt it. I don't have to wonder if I should be moving this optimizer or this slider up or down. And I feel like this Epson LS12000 is kind of built around that. It's built for the tinkerer. And if you're the tinkerer and you want to dial in every piece of content to the most fidelity, the most exacting HDR presentation, more power to you. That's not me. That's certainly not my family. And so that, again, is just a major reason. There's no reason in this regard that the Epson unseats the JVC. I've got full faith in the JVC that I'm getting amongst the best that the JVC can give me anytime I use my room on any piece of content, and I just have to turn it on and press play. The other thing as well, and a lot of folks had issue with me when I brought this up in my first impressions video, but the reality is the Epson LS12000 is not a full, native, complete 4K display device. It's just not. It uses pixel shifting. Is it effective 4K? Yes, it is. Can I notice the difference? I don't know. But when I sit in my room, I don't want any doubt in my mind that something is affecting or degrading or whatever my picture quality. And I'm sorry, but it's mid-2022. I am not buying any lower resolution, lower effective resolution, whatever you want to call it, display devices anymore. I want the highest resolution that I can get. I can buy into the tier of projectors, you know, from JVC, Sony, whatever it might be, that would get me that full, true, native 4K. And so I don't need to spend down. There's nothing else compelling that the 12,000 is doing for me that would make me say, okay, you know, forget that one. It's moot. It doesn't matter. You know, I want Retina displays in all my Apple devices. I'm never going to buy less than a 4K display for my living room. I'm never going to buy a full 4K native resolution all the way projector for my theater again. And that's just the way it is. I can afford to buy into that tier, and so that's where I'm at, and that's where I'm going to stay. Does that mean the LS12000 is bad? Absolutely not. Does it mean pixel shifting is bad? Absolutely not. And I think we will see native 4K come down into this $5,000 price point or whatever. It'll be ubiquitous. It'll be the norm at some point, and that will be a moot point. And I wouldn't even consider this to be a big argument. But again, this video for me is about why am I leaving the JVC NX7 hanging in my room relative to replacing it with an Epson LS12000, and that one factors for me. In the same way that I don't want to mess with the sliders, you know, I just want to come into my room, sit down, turn it on, and not have doubt that I'm getting everything that I want in an image. Call it a mental thing, call it whatever you want, but it's there, and that element matters to me. So it kind of goes into the third one, you know, a little bit of inertia. I already own the JVC NX7. I don't own an Epson LS12000. This was a demo unit. So making a change really has to be pushed or based on or motivated by, you know, something materially being better. And if the Epson would have just destroyed the JVC, certainly at the lower price point, I would have loved it, but it doesn't. And so there's no compelling reason to change. I'm in there. I've got another bulb sitting here for when the one that's in there finally hits its life. And I don't have any compelling reason to change. There's nothing driving momentum to push me to this thing in place of what I already have. But I will miss a couple of things. There are some things that I very, very, very much like about this unit over here. I really want HDMI 2.1. I just had the benefit of playing Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man on the PC, just released within the last couple days of recording this video. And oh my gosh, my 3090 Ti playing that game, PC gaming, it just looks so good. And we got the 4000 series GPUs coming soon. You're going to be able to run games at 4K 120. So many of them. It would just be awesome in the theater to be able to do that. Can't do it with the JVC, could do it over here. As time goes on, particularly once I get the new GPU for the gaming PC, I'm going to be jonesing for the upgrade in that respect. And yeah, I'll get it at some point, I'm sure. But Super Plus, on the side of the Epson, if your priority use is gaming, particularly PC gaming or current generation consoles and all of that, more than movies and some of the other things, other performance aspects, and that port matters to you, then yeah, great. It's an absolutely awesome choice. And then I really do like using the Epson in the fact that I so much prefer the way that it signal syncs and locks and changes and all of that sort of stuff. I use screen zoom on my scope screen to zoom in, fill up more of the screen with extra wide content, and I really dislike the way JVC does it, because when you go to start a movie and things need to start moving around, you got the color filter coming into place for 4K HDR stuff, it's got to shift, it's got to zoom, it's got to do all this stuff, and JVC like turns everything off. So you're sitting there in the dark because the control system, whatever, it's already turned all the lights off. It's just really uncomfortable waiting for the movie to start. Then the audio starts 30 seconds later, 20 seconds later. It feels like an eternity, whatever it is. You hear the thing moving, you hear the thing shift, and finally the image comes back up. And then, you know, then we're there. And then a couple seconds later, in the JVC shifting in lens memory, it blanks it out again momentarily and pops it back up. Just a pain. I really hope, like, JVC needs to make that stuff better. Don't turn the image off while you're making those changes and affecting all of that stuff. Epson doesn't do that. It's much more nicer to have the screen lit up, see the image, not just be sitting there in the dark with nothing to do for many seconds waiting for all of that stuff to finish. So super props to the Epson in that regard. I don't know if the JVC NZs are any better than the NXs. Hopefully they are. That's something that I will definitely find as a pain point of the JVC, and I look forward to other projectors like this one that might do those operations better. And I am really desiring to move to a laser projector. I want to get a brighter unit. This Epson is definitely a light cannon compared to my NX7, especially an NX7 with a bulb that has almost 1,000 hours on it. A whole lot more brightness, so you could have I'd love the combination, of course, of JVC, the NX's black levels with the Epson's brightness. So I'll miss that a bit, but the idea of like less dimming, less degradation, all of that stuff by virtue of laser technology. Laser just sounds awesome. It sounds cool. It has many, generally speaking, pros and whatnot to it. Not to say there's anything wrong with a bulb projector, and in fact, I am reading more and more that like it seems that there's a sentiment out there that the laser models are not always necessarily a slam dunk upgrade to the prior bulb generation, that the NZ models are not always specifically a picture quality or performance quality upgrade to the NX bulb models. Of course, you get HDMI 2.1, you get all these other things and stuff that come with it. But I see a lot about people like turning off laser dimming, turning off this. You're going to lose brightness if you use that. And it's a bummer when like new technology comes out and you actually have, you buy into it, more expensive. And then you actually have to like turn things off and shut things down, right? That you should be able to be taking advantage of in the new piece of tech, in the new model, in the new version, and all of that. So I'm really, really eager to get my hands on some JVC lasers, something in the NZ series, and compare it to the NX. Maybe that'll happen sooner than later. I don't know. Get all of the still benefits and values and virtues and whatnot of the JVC line, and see a little more kind of apples to apples JVC. But in any case, there you go. A bunch of thoughts about why I will not be uninstalling my NX7 to buy an Epson LS12000. If you have an Epson LS12000, it's a sweet projector. Love it, use it, like it, enjoy it, have fun with it, tinker with it, and take advantage of all of its virtues and cool capabilities. And if somebody were looking, I would say, for a new purchase, they didn't have anything, and they were comparing, do I want this Epson, do I want something else? I would probably look very strongly at like a JVC NP5. It's a little more expensive than the Epson LS. It's not a laser, but you would get a whole lot of the general benefits of the JVC, including the HDMI 2.1. If you can swing it, wait a little while, you know, whatever it might be. I think the NP5 really kind of exists as a very nice sweet spot of a unit of a projector model out there right now for home theater use. So that's my thoughts. Feel free to shoot holes in them. Sound off in the comments. Let me know what you think. Otherwise, please do all the regular YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Look down in the description for a whole bunch of ways to support the channel. Look a little further, check out some of the Techthusiasm merchandise that's there, and come on back for more home theater fun. Thanks.